Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Kyle Stout, who's the founder of Elevate and Scale, a leading email marketing agency. Kyle, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, so first of all, I like how you focus on one thing. You're not a leading everything anyone ever needs in marketing agency, and we've got 19 bullet points of anything you need we can do, because that just screams we don't do anything great. But leading email marketing, now we're talking, because that, no matter how much technology and web 2.0, 4.0 that we tend to get to these days, people are still going to communicate by email. I mean, email is not going away. I think it can be polished and enhanced with different things, but email is foundational. So I'm excited to learn from you. But give us a little bit of your background and entrepreneurial journey, and then we'll dive into what you do for your clients.
Okay, yeah. So that observation about us only offering email marketing, that was very intentional, and it definitely didn't start that way. So I started out as a freelance copywriter back in 2013. And originally was just helping companies with blogging, growing their SEO traffic. And then I started getting into email marketing and paid advertising and all of that. And I actually did at one point try to offer a bunch of different services like you mentioned. And I quickly realized that it's very difficult to be great at one of them, and it's impossible to be great at all of them. And it's very, very difficult to deliver great results on all of those different services while also doing so in a way that's affordable for clients, and it just works well. So for me, I always had the most success with email marketing. It just, for whatever reason, clicked, and I don't know, I not even so much that I liked it the best. It was just, it seemed to work the best. So I said, okay, this is what's working. I'm going to go all in on this.
Yep. Yeah, that's what business, so many times business does. It's like you keep doing one thing, and then you start noticing something. And it's like, And I literally was interviewing someone earlier today who was a chiropractor, and he said when 10 or 11 of my colleagues that were chiropractors at a convention in our talks throughout that weekend mentioned this one new different thing, all of a sudden, the first one I was like, The second one comes up and like, okay, well, that's interesting. And then after 10 or 11, okay, we got to talk. So I think that's what you and I both in my agency, I've done that over the years. I started being all things to all people, and then it just doesn't work. You pick your one lane, and then you can get really good at it. Then you get the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours good at email marketing. So let's dive into what do you start with? So when you have a client that comes to you and says, I need help with my marketing, and your go-to is email marketing, what is the low-hanging fruit that you're looking for first to help polish up their marketing campaigns?
So we primarily work with direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands right now. So the approach I would take with them versus B2B businesses, which I've worked with a lot of in the past, and we can talk about that if you're interested. The first place I look at is I want to see what's going on with their sales process. In fact, I would take the same approach with any business in any industry, but what we would implement would just be different. But the first place I look at is just breaking down the step-by-step process that it takes to get someone from not knowing your business to becoming a happy customer, and identifying all of the gaps in that sales process. And with email marketing tools like Klaviyo, which is the tool that we use primarily, you can have email automations that plug the holes in each of those gaps, meaning that if you've already got traffic coming to your site, you've already got leads and customers who are actively shopping and adding products to cart and doing all of that, there's a certain percentage that just stop. Either they make it to a product page, but they don't even add it to cart, or someone who's initiated the checkout, but they don't complete it. And at every stage, you can implement automated emails to move people along, so you end up getting just more revenue from what you're already doing with your marketing. And that's usually where we find the most low-hanging fruit for businesses where they either don't have a lot of that stuff built out, or they either have some, but there could be some improvements to either how those flows are built out structurally, or a lot of times it's how we can improve the content because they didn't really take as much effort, or maybe they just didn't know how to create content that where people would actually want to receive those emails.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really excellent point. And what I would also ask is, that's a science and that's a test, and everything in marketing is A/B test and ABCDE test, right? So let's see what works. But what are you finding as far as like deliverability? Because there are a lot of filters these days. And then along the same lines of that question, what about subject lines? Because an email is wonderful, but it doesn't work at its finest unless you are able to get that email opened.
Yeah, so there's a couple of parts here. So A/B testing is huge. So especially when it comes to all of those automated emails I mentioned. So a lot of times, if you have never really implemented those automated flows and then you go add them in place, because it is a low-hanging fruit opportunity, you tend to get immediate results. And a lot of times people think because they are automated that it's just a set it and forget it thing. And the results are great, and they think, okay, I can just move on to other stuff, but they don't realize they're missing out on so much more revenue with just the little bit of extra effort of doing ongoing A/B testing to where you can steadily improve those results from month to month. So that's something that we do with our clients. Is every automated flow that we build, we create an A/B test on every email in every flow, and then once a month we go in and we update those A/B tests and we track all those results and all of that. And most of that A/B testing initially is with subject line, because that's really, if you can't get them to open, then you can't get them to click or buy or any of the other stuff. So that's usually the first place. And over time, once we get to where, it's pretty, small incremental improvements, we get to where, okay, now let's start testing different content within the emails and start really trying to focus more on the clicks and the conversions and all of that. And also, You mentioned email deliverability. This has changed a lot. And there's a couple of components. So you have your technical components where just making sure your domains are set up correctly and all of that. And sometimes people do have issues with that. But it's usually not the case. What's usually the case is more on the engagement side. So Gmail, Hotmail, all the big email inboxes, they're very sensitive now to how people are receiving your emails. And so they pay attention to if people are opening and clicking and replying and doing all of those things. And if people aren't engaging, so, by tracking those metrics, then your emails either end up in the promotions tab for a while, or they start going to spam. And a big part of that is just not emailing everyone on your list all the time, and also being a little more selective about who you email what content, because you just want to make the content as engaging as possible for people so that you can maintain a good baseline engagement. So the inbox will say, okay, people seem to like emails from this company.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Facebook algorithm back when they first came out with that, where people are going, hey, I've got thousands of followers on my page, so every time I post something, they're seeing it, right? Nope. So that algorithm is a mix between frequency and recency and how people are interacting. So the scary thing is now email, service providers like the Gmails, like you mentioned, are having that same kind of formula being integrated in, and it gets really technical, like SPF records. I'm sure that's in the weeds, but there's things that can be done. And then it kind of just also gets down to like what you said, sending the right message to the right segment so that you're pretty assured that from the subject line, it'll get opened. And maybe it's not a sale, but part of the benefit is just getting those algorithms to be triggered so that future emails that are being sent out will be open.
That's really the biggest thing, is that email is always a long-term game. And there's a lot of short-term value that you can get from email marketing. And it's very tempting for brands, especially if they haven't really done too much with their email marketing yet, and all of a sudden they start implementing a new strategy, and they're seeing this immediate boost in revenue. And it's very tempting to just, because every email you send out, for a while at least, it makes you more money. And they're thinking, okay, if I go from 1 a week to 5 a week, and now I'm getting 5 times as much revenue. But what's happening is, if you're not doing that in the right way, you're burning out your list, and you end up losing more people from your list than you're gaining, and you're really defeating the whole purpose of email marketing, which is customer retention and really driving up that lifetime customer value.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do a whole conversation and masterclass on that alone, is lifetime value, and that's so huge. But it kind of gets down also, I want to talk about another marketing principle. I teach marketing for a few universities, and one concept is called IMC, Integrated Marketing Communication. So yes, you need to have your messaging concise and tight across all channels, but you should use multiple channels and the best channels for your audience. So you focus on email marketing, but should you email market all the time to all the people without fail? Well, maybe, maybe not. Maybe there could be a way to integrate things, like, what if you had a few emails and then a text message and then a few emails and then the email that you send points them to a Facebook post or an Instagram post. So talk a little bit about integrating things in like that to enhance the overall campaign results.
Okay, so yeah, this has been very interesting over the last few years. I personally I just didn't like SMS marketing. Whenever it first came about, I personally wasn't interested in it as a consumer. I didn't really believe in it as a marketer, and I have completely changed my mind over the last couple of years, because I've noticed that it doesn't really matter what I think, it matters what the market thinks. And there are enough people out there who actually like, and in many cases prefer, SMS marketing, that now it's a big mistake to ignore it. And this is going to be different in different industries. So again, because we're working mostly with direct-to-consumer brands, you have a lot of younger buyers who they see their email inbox as work. And their inbox is cluttered, and they don't really like to spend too much time in their inbox whenever they're not working. And again, they also think they like to have a relationship with the brands they do business with. And so they're actually okay with opening up their text message, their SMS inbox to people. So a lot of them, they prefer to shop that way. So what we do is on the website with the forms we're using, we are using, at least for brands who are doing SMS marketing, we're trying to get people to opt into both, so email and SMS. And there's different things you can do to enhance this. So one thing we do is we'll go SMS first for mobile traffic, and we'll go email first for desktop traffic. And those are things you can test, and you can, get really advanced with it. But ultimately, when you get people in, you can have flows set up where they're receiving both emails and SMS as part of the same flow, or you can also have just email and SMS only types of flows. And then of course you have your campaigns that you're sending out. So when you have promotions and different things like that, your SMS list, while SMS does cost more than email, it tends to also make more per recipient than email. So it's a very interesting thing to look at right now.
Yeah. Well, and I know I've heard this stat before, and I'm sure it changes, but I'm sure you're up to date on it. What is the stat about what percentage of people will open up a email versus the percentage of people that will open up a SMS message?
I mean,
isn't it pretty staggering?
It's pretty staggering, but I also don't really put as much weight on that as I used to. For one, open rates on emails are inflated now because of the iOS update. So what used to be, the rule used to be 20% or above was better. Now, if we're not seeing 30, 40% open rates, at least again for our particular industries that we're working with, then that looks pretty bad because the numbers are inflated. But then with SMS, people have to open it to get that notification to go away. Actually, that's not true. They can delete it, but most people just end up doing that as a way to get the notification to go away. So you're looking at what used to be a standard of 20% for email, and you're looking at, it depends on the brand, but 80, 90% plus, like every time for SMS, if not 100%.
Yep. That's a good point. And as with both SMS and email, you need to take care and caution to not, upset people. You can't email every day. You shouldn't text every day. You should, what's the frequency? And I'm sure you would have a good number for the frequency, but I know when I have clients of mine that ask that question, I say, well, here's just an answer I would provide. If you were following a brand, how often would you like to get their emails? And at what point would you start going, that's too much? Because some people would go, I want them every day. And so that person might be like, okay, well, maybe I can, maybe not email every day, but certainly once a week. But what if there's someone that feels like, okay, too much is X? So what do you recommend your clients on frequency?
So frequency, I like to use segmentation. So breaking your whole email list down into smaller groups of people to really monitor this. So the goal is to be able to send to as many people that would like to receive that type of email. So sometimes we're doing segmentation based on things like product interest and their past purchase history, that kind of stuff. So you're sending them things that are relevant to stuff that products they're interested in. But one really easy, broad category of segmentation that you can get started with to start testing this email frequency is by creating segments based around engagement. So you can have a group, and we do this based on a timeline. So you could have a group of people that's a 14-day engaged group or a 30-day engaged group, and you keep extending that out. And what that means is that they have, and you can define these terms however you feel like, but what we usually do is that means they've opened or clicked on an email within that time frame, or they've been active on site within that time frame. So in the last 14, 30, 60, 90, whatever days. So the thinking here is that the people who are the most recently engaged or the most engaged, they usually want to get more stuff from you. And the people who are less engaged, the reason why they've fallen out of engagement is because they don't want as much communication from you. So what we will do is we will send more frequently to the most engaged groups and less frequently to the less engaged groups. So for the less engaged groups, if you have something that's really exciting, a new product launch, a big holiday sale, that sort of thing, where if you think about, you put yourself in the shoes of the customer, like you said, there's sometimes when there's some brand, you just love that brand and you just love it. Like you just love the way they talk. You love all the stuff they sell. And there's other companies where maybe it was just a one-off purchase. It was more of a need thing. And you don't really have a want or a need to buy anything from them soon. But if they were going to run a big sale, you'd be interested to know about it. Or if they did have some kind of new product, you'd be interested to know about it. And that's how we can, still keep those people in the loop and still generate sales from those people without totally burning them out and getting them so annoyed that they've unsubscribed or hit spam, or they just completely ignore everything you send them.
Yeah.
And then for the people who are the most engaged, that doesn't mean you want to email them every single day necessarily, but it does mean that you can email them more frequently, and you can kind of watch those different segments, and you can monitor the open rates and click rates of those segments. And you know that if your 30-day engaged group, for example, starts to fall below your normal open rates and click rates, that, okay, we're pushing a little too hard with these people. We need to back off a little bit.
Yep. If I were to step back and kind of take the bullet points, highlights of what you've mentioned here today as a e-com business owner, I would be nodding my head going, yep, agree, but I have no clue how to do it. And then I would also say, it sounds like it's just all over the place. So talk a little bit about how you kind of tie it all up with a nice, pretty red ribbon and create automations and systems so that all of this flows well and delivers the results for your clients that they need.
Okay, so I really look at email marketing for e-commerce business as having two sides to the email marketing strategy. You have your automated flows, and those are really going to be either tied directly to the sales process. So things like a welcome series for new people who show up to the site, or an abandoned checkout flow for people who have abandoned their cart. And you can also have other flows that are going to be triggered by people's behavior. So like a happy birthday flow. They've given you their birthday at some point, and now you surprise them with a birthday gift. Those are they're automated, but they're always going to be tied to the customer's behavior. So you can create them, you can optimize them, but you don't have as much control over who gets them because you're waiting on them to take actions and do things that trigger those flows. So then the other side, you have your campaigns. These are the emails that you send out to people. So once you know you've got your sales process optimized, you've got your automations in the good spots where they're performing well and you're maintaining them, really more of the focus goes towards the campaigns from that point on. Of course, you can continue to build out those flows, but really it's getting to where you're looking at a monthly campaign calendar. So what kind of, what's going on this month? Are we running any promotions? Are there any holidays or special events or special dates that we're building themes around in all of our marketing, whether it's social media or whatever? And that's how we would plan out the content for the month. So the campaigns are really the ongoing conversation that you're having with your clients. So sending out relevant content based on, again, whether it's, something that's going on that month or any promotions you're having, or just educating people on your products and continuing the conversation that you would have in your space. For example, if you're, in the health space and maybe you're selling supplements, people are just interested to learn more about anything that they can do to improve their health. So you always have something to have a conversation about and to create content around. So, and then the other one, the automated emails, those are really more, again, tied to reaction to a sales transaction or to things they're doing. So that just exists in the background and we're maintaining it. But the campaigns are where we really have the upside, because over time, the goal is to build out more of those segments like we talked about, so that way we can send more emails over time without sending every email to every person on the list, because each additional email we send is going to get more revenue, but we have to balance that between not annoying people and not getting people to leave the list. So it's really an ongoing thing, and just monitoring all of that and looking at how we can grow that channel over time so that email is generating a higher percentage of the total revenue for the business over time.
Yep. I mean, it all gets down to those three letters, ROI, is what we're doing, producing the results we want. And if it's not, we tweak and fine tune. So I tell you, you just laid out a full masterclass here, and it's been spectacular to see how you work with your clients in this email world, Kyle. What's the best way someone can reach out, learn more about what you guys offer, and connect with you?
Okay, our offer is simple. We'll increase your email revenue by 30% in the first 60 days, or we'll work for free until we do. And if you'd like to learn more, then go to elevateandscale.com and you can find everything you need there.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Kyle. It's a real pleasure talking with you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.